Welcome, world.
Hello.
Welcome to Travis Larson Band Outside the Inn number 6, I believe. And we're getting closer and closer to hacking technology and making it cooler every week. Jen has a real microphone.
I have a microphone. I don't know if it sounds any better. Maybe now I won't sound so whiny and squinty.
You gotta talk real close so you get the radio thing. You gotta talk real close. You get the radio thing. You get that radio thing going on.
Yes. And anyway, we have a special guest this week, which we will get to eventually. The secret special guest. All people.
Secret sauce.
The secret sauce, the secret beard. Of course, that gets started.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, Larry. Hey, Anthony. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm checking the comments myself.
Nice microphone, Jen.
Thank you.
Yay.
It's the ND767 by Electric Voice. I should know this. It's been a while since we've been on the road. Or since I've even used a microphone, for that matter. So.
I have the one that I've been using, but it hasn't been in the shot because I got this really cool scissory stand for it, and now I got a spit guard too, so I can get all crazy with it.
Your Corona guard.
Yeah, this is my Corona mic guard, so I can share the mic. I have to change the guard between every person that uses the mic. This is the RE1000 made by Electric Voice and a classic because I believe it's out of print, as they say. Do microphones go out of print?
I continue to have my fabulous headset mic. I continue to have my fabulous headset mic brought to me by Mark Storm and Electric Voice. I might be able to tell you the model number, even though I don't know it off the top of my head. It's an RE97-2 TX.
Oh, I thought it was I liked Toot better.
No, 2.
The RE96 Toot.
RE97-2 TX.
Right. TX.
So welcome, Facebook Live land. Let me first just start out by saying I did my second live stream concert on Wednesday night, and you guys, the people out there in virtual world, my friends that I don't get to see in real life lately, are just ridiculously cool. There's just such a cool camaraderie on those things. I know Jen has been monitoring them as Travis Larson Band on there because for some reason they won't let her account sign into the live stream. But
they don't want me to comment.
They don't want you saying anything. But
no.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming on and hanging out and making me feel okay about trying to slug through tunes that I haven't played in a while. And I work really hard at making it sonically good. The chops are not quite road chops, but I'm trying. But I will say that the camaraderie I see amongst everybody in the live stream, aside from myself and what I'm doing, is really, really cool. It's great to see a whole bunch of people that are treating each other warmly and being, just awesome. And, it's like a virtual party where you see people seeing other people they haven't seen in a while and catching up and, hey, how you doing, man? Oh, it's awesome to see you. I remember I saw you at this show or that show or whatever. So thank you guys for showing up for that. And thank you very much for continually trying to help support with the merch links and the tip jar. All that stuff is up on this live stream right now. If you're so inclined, and you got a couple bucks on those performances or whatever we're doing on the webs. Is Dale building something right now?
He's always building something. That's what we love about him. You come build me a deck.
Right? Paint my house.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you everybody for supporting that. I'm very much looking forward to our guest tonight at 7:30. But before we get to that,
you may not expect this one.
Yes, this is a secret special guest who has spent a lot of time in the van with us as well. Amazing guitar player. I would go out on a limb and say until we toured with Guthrie, I had not seen a more amazing guitar player and not played with a more amazing guitar player.
Well, you're going to give it away. Come on.
My mug is a hint also.
Right.
Oh. I have no hints.
I do remember that, Travis, hanging out with this particular person and then him getting out of the van and you going, well, that was the best guitar player that's ever been in this van.
Yeah. I remember saying that to him and him saying, I'm humbled. But anyway, we love this guy. So just moving on for a bit while we have some time.
Vicky's in the house. Hey, Vicky.
We do have, I'm not going to answer any questions on the stream before he comes on to give away who he is. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm just going to bust into a couple of questions here. Let's see. I'm looking for, Dale had one from last week that I was pondering whether we should get into that. And I also have
Dale? Oh, wait, first of all, how have you guys been? I haven't really seen or talked to you since,
you mean us two guys?
Yeah.
Like me and Dale?
Yeah. No.
I've been busy and shifting away from trying to come up to speed on the technology of Zoom lessons and more just easing back into I should probably start practicing more in earnest. So any amount of time that I've gotten getting more used to how to teach online, I've spent trying to get my TLB drum set together and remembering how to play drums. And
yeah, I don't mind sharing that we're working on some cool stuff that's going to be happening here and there over time that would require you guys to actually be able to play.
How have you guys been?
I've been sort of in the same boat, picking up the instruments and going through some things and technological nightmares. Actually, I spent the whole day on After Effects today, so that was fun. Anyways, that's nerdy. Never mind. Forget I said it. Go ahead.
I'll just put this out there in case anybody of technological know-how, besides Larry Mitchell, because we've already talked about this, has any input. But I've been trying to figure out how to get a Roland Go mixer into an iPad Pro, because you can't get the cable that goes from a USB-B that works with the Go mixer to a USB-C in the iPad Pro. You might think you can just order one. You're going to go on Amazon right now, you're going to find 50 of them, but that doesn't mean they work. And so anyway, that's what I've been dealing with, is researching all that stuff and trying to figure out exactly why and what the differences are. And apparently there's two USB-Bs. This could be a completely nerdy conversation that I won't get into, but there's the USB 3.0 and the USB-B 2.0. And there's a USB-B 2.0 with OTI or OTG, I don't know. It means something that has something to do with some kind of data transfer. Anyway, this is the kind of...
you need the 2.5.
Right. This one goes to 11. So anyway, that's the kind of stupid stuff that I'm spending all my time.
Someone says it's hard to hear me.
To ask. Sabrina, Larry and I have been talking about this for weeks. So yes, we've been answering each other's questions, but we don't have the answers on this exact question. So unfortunately, but they made everything USB-C now. So anyway, moving on from that, we had a question last week. Dale informed me of. It was a practice question. It says, if we, sorry, I'm reading Dale's actual comment on the question. I'm not reading the question. Dale's comment is, if we want to get into it, this could take some time. But the real question is, do all three of you, this is from Vincent, do all three of you feel it's essential to practice every day, and for how long? So interesting with the conversation we're starting right now, because it depends on what we're doing. And you guys are trying to get up and running on a few things right now specifically.
True.
Yes.
So Jen, how long do you practice a day?
Well, practice what specifically? You know.
Pull that mic in just a little closer,
Uh,
if you can.
I'll
okay.
I could buy time for you if you want.
Yes, it's true. It depends on what's going on, what we're getting ready for. It can range from 0 to many hours of woodshedding and practicing. So if there's nothing immediately on the horizon, it makes sense for me personally to vary up my world and partake in other things I enjoy, so I don't practice every day if there's nothing immediately on the horizon. And right now, yes, I've been playing quite a bit.
I do think it's important for me to practice every day, and I enjoy it, but I don't. In the last few years, I've got on sort of a similar cycle to what Jen's saying, but it works less good for me. It's just something that happens when I get over busy, and it turns into one of those things where it's either I'm going to keep practicing regularly, or because at a certain level of busyness, you're taking that time out of sleep. And I just, so I haven't been doing it as much. And then you end up in this thing where you're sort of practicing a lot to get ready for an album or a tour. And it's a little like cramming for a test. You might come up to the level that you need to be. I'll speak for myself. I need to come up to a certain level. But I'm challenged by fundamental things in this band. One is speed and one is stamina. And so the thing I'm describing is not very good, because what will happen is 4 weeks into the tour, like the song that challenges me speed-wise, I'll do it 5 times a day. I'll do it a half an hour a day, because I'm not looking for my brain to remember it. I'm looking for physiological adaptation. I'm looking for my body to change so I can do that. So then a month into the tour, I only do it once a day, and I start to lose it, and there's no way to get it back. And so I try to come up above the level I need to be to execute the songs really well on the tour. But yeah, the last few years, this has been a thing in my mind. It's a source of dissatisfaction with me. It's a little, and the other flaw with that for myself personally is that it reminds me of the discussion of how athletes are better nowadays, because everybody stays in shape in the off season and they continue to elevate their game year to year. Whereas 40 years ago, guys just got out of shape during the off season and smoke and get fat, and then they'd come back and they'd return to their level they were at before mid-season. Nowadays, people get progressively better, and that's what I used to enjoy doing, and that's a lost opportunity for me too. So for all these reasons, so the answer to the question is, I do think it's important to practice every day for me. And I haven't been doing it, and I've been doing a lot of soul searching on how to carve out the space to do that in my life, so that I can keep getting better as a player. And the last thing I'll say is, invariably, it's a stressful thing practicing to get in shape for a tour and feeling like you can't do these songs yet, and the tour is 3 weeks away. So that I run into that situation sometimes, and it's another thing I'd like to just take out of my life. But a lot of these answers have to do with playing in a band that, some people just have a baseline where they don't lose their speed and they don't lose their endurance. And I do. It's shocking how slow and weak I get. It's unbelievable. I just returned to this baseline where I suck if I'm not playing. And nobody would believe that. They go, no, you're going to be good. You're fine. And they would see me trying to practice these things and not getting through the song.
I always return to a baseline too.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, when we're lost, we all return to a baseline.
Anyway,
I was going to say an interesting thing on that note, Dale, that people don't realize, because you mentioned you start to lose it on the road, and people would think, well, how is that possible?
Yeah.
You play so much less on the road, and you get more fatigued on the road just in general life.
Right. There's another thing too, like in a lot of bands, like if I go out and play in a friend's band that's not like this, 85% of the playing is going to be the same thing. If I go play in a friend's blues rock band, I'm going to play the same beats and they're going to reinforce, and I'm going to get really good at those things. And in this band, I'll do one thing that challenges me in one way and another thing that challenges me in another way and another thing that challenges me in another way. And if I need improvement on those things, I might give an hour a day to mastering what I need to do to play one song, and then another hour to play a different song. And then I'll do the rest of the stuff. So it ends up being 3 hours. And then on the road, that thing I was doing an hour a day to get good at, I do once a day. And I'm getting gradually worse. And then you cross the line one day where you can't play it. And it's just one day you can, and the next day you can't. And that's a horrible feeling. And yeah.
My line actually starts to be a little more of a gradation, but you'll see me starting to there's like the sweet spot. You go out on tour, the first week you're just getting comfortable. Then you start to slam for a couple of weeks. Then you start getting fatigued and you start not being able to practice, and you'll make a mistake one night and you'll be working so constantly the next day to get to the next gig and get the next gig up and running that you'll never have gotten back to figure out what you did wrong the night before. And then you do that wrong the next night. So those kind of things are hard to catch up on when you're on the road, especially the way we do it, where it's just slamming in a van as hard as you can all the time.
Right. And
so, but as far as, so I guess my answer on the practicing at home thing goes, I used to, like when I was working on a record, like now theoretically, I would put down the old songs and completely walk away from them. And a few records ago, I stopped doing that, even though there is stuff that I've put down for years, but that I would have to really go work on. But there's stuff that stays in the set pretty consistently, or at least there's some anchors and there's some songs that you're probably going to play next time. So I do tend to maybe like once a week at least try and get through some stuff, of at least running the tunes. I won't play every day, but I'll play maybe a couple times a week, and I'll play a bunch of songs, like at least one day a week, where I really am going through stuff. Because when I put it all down that one time, it was like so hard to pick it all back up again. People think, well, you were playing the whole time because you're working on a record. Well, you're playing bits of pieces of new material. None of that is put into muscle memory yet. So it's not something that you've practiced, and physical shape and mental shape are two completely different things. I never really let my physical shape go too much, but that's not why I play like crap. It's never my physical shape of why I play so bad. Whereas, Dale would maybe have a different story, being because drums are so physical. But for me, I never let my fingers go to the point where I couldn't play, but I definitely let my mental go, where I haven't gone over difficult material and then I try and pick it up and think I would be better than I am. And it's way more of a challenge.
I have to interrupt.
Yeah.
Becky Fallon just said hi. Hi,
Hi.
Becky.
Hey.
We missed you guys.
Yes.
The Fallons own Northwest Guitars in Bellevue, Washington. If you are in that area and you're able to, go into a music store someday in the future, and they do have a website, and I know they're selling stuff digitally, but they are.
I think they're doing stuff curbside too.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're awesome. We've done several clinics and even some band in-store performances there. And we always try and make an effort to go hang out with them, their family. They're awesome. It's a great group of people there. And even I was up there last time by myself, and it was awesome. Just dropping in and seeing Kevin and hanging out. Yeah. So it's good to know, that you have, kind of extended family in places like that, where you end up in town and you need a friendly face.
Yeah.
Circling back in that discussion, I wanted to say real quick that I agree with what you say too, Jen. It might have seemed like I was like, yeah, that doesn't work with me to have, to lay the instrument down. You kind of have to work that into the whole equation. Also, you have to make time to lay the instrument down. Like you said, it sounded like I might have been disagreeing with that, but I think that's important too. And then it's just one more thing to figure it out in this whole scope.
Yeah. No, I think it doesn't work as well for some people and works okay for others. I think, some can put it down, but I think you're right that you, just physically, it's a different thing,
Yeah.
and, I tend to need that balance where if I get too, distracted by one thing, I go more crazy than usual. So.
And I have friends who don't work on their craft that much, and they may get rusty, but they don't get slow. Like they just kind of have a certain kind of speed that they have. And I used to not buy that. I just thought, well, you have the ability you have, but they have some different level of fast twitch proportions that I do. And
I'll tell you something about that.
Twitchier than you? I don't know.
I don't mean squirmy. I just mean.
Wait, you know what? This last week when I did the streaming show, it's incredible how much, even if you're not in a room with people, but there's virtual people with you, and that as soon as you turn on the red light, I'm total stiffen up. I was like struggling through alternate picking and all this stuff that I'm not really comfortable with right now. And, like in January, I was killing, because we'd been out for so long, and, you're playing high profile shows and stuff. And then you're home for 3 months, and then you're playing in your home studio where you'd think you'd be the most comfortable. And I was like, as soon as the camera comes on, that twitchy thing just goes away. My twitch, my high-speed twitch level completely diminishes under pressure.
Yeah, I'm that way too. I have to have some buffer to work with.
I got a question for Jen. This is a good one from Mark. Not Mark. This is Mark De Los Santos. I hope I pronounced that right. Says, I just bought my first bass. Is it better to use a pick or just walk your fingers? I bought a Music Man. Yes, Mark.
Congratulations on the new instrument. Yeah. Can't go wrong with Music Man, of course. Well, I personally prefer fingers and don't use a pick. I suppose there's certain situations where a pick would be preferable. Depends on the kind of music you're playing, and perhaps if you're recording and you want a really clean, crisp kind of thing or a muted thing. But I'm just gonna say use your fingers and screw the pick. You don't need it.
Yeah.
So there.
I think that you actually, here's the thing about as a guitar player and a bass player. I do things, obviously. If I was a flamenco player, I would never use a pick. And since I'm doing things that can only be done with a pick in some cases, I use one as a guitar player. But if I was a bass player, I see a lot of advantages to using just your fingers, because it's harder to move around bigger strings. This is just my take as a guitar player, but it seems like you would be able to do wider interval jumps between strings and things like that, being able to use multiple fingers and almost, you know what I mean? Versus getting further with a pick.
Yeah, I think that bass also is a percussive instrument, obviously, and so a lot of times you're using your fingers specifically to make non-noted notes. You're just making thumping sounds or muted tones. You're not always making notes, and with a pick you can't do that. Picking is all about making the note sound, and sometimes on bass, you can fake your way, if you need to, through a whole song by just rhythmically plucking a thing and moving your hand up and down so it sounds like you're doing something. I'm not saying I do that. I'm saying that's something, bass is percussive, and pick playing does not allow that. You have to be really precise and hit all the notes with that.
Right. Wayne says, do you have any secrets or tips for relaxing your arm and shoulders while playing? I tend to tense up playing tricky riffs. Well, so going back to what I was saying a minute ago about mentally trying to force yourself past being affected by your surroundings. This is one of the weirdest but most helpful things to progress my playing in that way. Was when Jen and I, for years, used to tour Borders, Books, and Music, like we were talking about a few weeks ago. And we had no real volume behind us because we had to keep the volume really, really low in those situations because it's a bookstore, so they give you a corner where you've got maybe, 25, 30 people watching, 50 on a good night, but you can't blow them out like a concert. And so there's no bounce. Like when you play guitar players will know what I mean. When you crank your rig really loud, you get this bounce on the strings where it makes it easier to play. It's like a drummer having new heads on his drums where you get that responsiveness that you can actually feel. And when you are playing really quietly on a guitar, I would assume it's kind of like a drummer playing like a rubber electronic drum set where there's just not the response of a real drum head. You don't have that bounce on the string, so it's much harder to play difficult stuff, and you have to kind of dig into it. So what I would do is I would imagine that I was playing through a rig like that, because you could still do the same things. It's your body reacting to your situation. It's not the actual situation allowing you to play better because you're playing really loud. It's your body reacting to how that feels to it. So I would relax and mentally try and trick myself into thinking I was playing with, a huge stack behind me blowing air where I could feel that bounce. I would imagine that bounce on the strings. And I got better and better at it to where I was able to play lighter and more fluid, even though I was playing with no gain on the guitar and quietly. And that made it a lot easier to relax if I kind of imagined that I was playing in the scenario where everything does sound perfect. And or when you do play in that scenario, pay really close attention to what that feels like so that you can use it later, and then you can use your imagination to try and put yourself there. But that's one trick that I've used. What's that?
I said, hey, Chris Del Nostro. Sorry, didn't mean to step
Chris Del Nostro.
That's right.
Oh man, that's Chris Del Nostro is one of the hardest working crew guys on the planet, period.
Every once in a while, we'll have conversations where somebody will say, oh, so-and-so is a machine. And we work really hard as a trio. And sometimes like somebody will say that about somebody as a hardworking person. And we'll be like, we know a machine. And his name is Chris Del Nostro.
Yeah. Yeah. He's, he's an heir to the Thomas Nordig throne. And anybody that knows what I'm talking about knows that he's being trained by a guy that's in his mid to late 70s who still lifts and works harder moving gear than anybody I know at any age. So let's see here. We're getting close to the special guest, but we're not quite there yet. I have a monitor in his house. I can watch him. He's not ready yet.
That's probably an interesting house to monitor.
Right.
Okay, I have a Who's the Man, maybe.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of those. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This might be a long one, too long, given the time we have before our very special guest.
Go ahead.
Genesis, with or without Peter Gabriel?
So is this the...
With, because he was in all the Genesis that was ever good, in my opinion, that anyone knows about.
Wow.
Wow, I actually didn't expect that from you. Okay.
Oh, no. With or without Peter Gabriel?
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking Phil Collins.
Right. We did have Who's the Man, Peter Gabriel with Phil Collins.
Yeah.
I know, but that's different.
It is. You're right. It is.
Different.
I like the... I sorry, I completely screwed that up.
No
I was watching somebody walk around in their living room and I got sidetracked.
Uh-oh.
I thought he was coming and then he wasn't. So, yeah, I would say
the opposite of what you said.
You're right.
My favorite Genesis is, and people are going to hate me for this, but I love bands that are kind of under pressure. My favorite Flecktones record is Three Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because they lost a couple of guys and then it was just this trio out there doing amazing things, like too much music for three guys. I do like the early I mean, I love a lot of the Genesis with Peter Gabriel, but I also love the Genesis right after he was gone when they were trying to figure it out. And they were somewhere between the pop band and the prog band. And it was more accessible prog. So,
I agree with that.
Your brother says Gabriel without Genesis.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's a pretty good answer too.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to take this moment to introduce our next guest.
Yes.
Who is, as we mentioned, quite possibly, he's definitely one of the two most amazing guitar players we've ever toured with. And they both have amazing beards now. And that's just so amazing. So I'm going to treat it like the Tonight Show, and I'm going to give him like some walk-on music. And I just think
metal.
This guy is just like one of our favorites. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Dave Martone, all the way from Canada.
Ah!
Dave Martone. Dude, it's funny. I don't know if you've watched any of these, but 2 weeks ago, I had a beard like that almost. And
I had no. Jen, is that true?
It's true. I saw it on the Zoom thing here.
Yeah. I shaved it off for my first streaming concert, and then when I came on last week, I had a fake beard on, and I almost was going to have that on when you came on, but.
Wow. It's just one of the things that happens when you approach the age that I am, like John Petrucci, different people. I don't know what it is. We feel like, you know what? It's time to grow a badass metal beard. I guess,
right.
Once you, I can't explain it. When you reach the age, it'll just happen. As you know, right?
When I reached the age. Well, the age for me was I didn't have any public responsibilities for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I almost didn't anyway, but I decided to make some. So here we are, right?
And wonderful. Thank you very much for doing this and having me on. I love you all, and it's such a great honor to be part of this cool thing that you're doing. And Dale, look, hold on, Dale.
Nice. All right.
Hey.
All right. It's not even an option for me anymore.
I don't know where they
It's not even an option.
And people are still saying it's hard to hear you. I'm putting that out there. So either talk right into the mic, or if there's a way to turn up that level, I don't know.
Okay.
There you go. Just do that the rest of the night.
Really? That's kind of annoying.
Not to us.
I hear you loud and clear, Jen. Your voice is very pretty. And still very pretty.
Remember her at the Aristocrats show? Did she do the metal thing when we were in Vancouver?
She might have.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Jennifer, every night with the Aristocrats, well, not every night, but several nights of the tour, would get up and sing Cookie Monster metal with them for a song.
Yep.
No.
It's true.
All the other groups. It sounds wonderful. Like you must be in all the albums with that vocal type.
Right.
So I know you were. It's your pop's birthday, right?
Yeah, my pop's he turned 81 today, so we're celebrating. We had some barbecue going on. We had a couple adult beverages going on, and I have 2 young little crazy kids at the moment, so they're going crazy. They're half naked, streaking around. There's sausage, there's toys, there's wine, there's cookies, there's ice cream, there's garbage everywhere. I looked around. I'm a neat freak, so I almost had an aneurysm upstairs, so I had to come back downstairs into my clean studio and go home.
Nice. Happy birthday to your pops. My dad turned 80 a couple of weeks ago, and I had it was Andy Timmons and Mike Keneally and Teddy Kumpel, who plays with Joe Jackson. It was we all sang him happy birthday virtually with like a 10-second delay between us.
So then that's great, because your dad and my dad are pretty much the same age. I think my dad was born in 39 or something like that. I don't even know. When you put your numbers in, like whatever it is, credit cards or age, like do the numbers actually go that low? You know what I mean?
Right.
I always feel bad for like hitting around 1970 something from myself.
No, you have to scroll a bunch. You have to
scroll. Oh, that's my age. But 1939, like scroll.
Right. So to bring everybody in that's not familiar, I mentioned earlier, I don't know, you probably didn't hear me because you were at the birthday party, Dave. I said Dave Martone is the most amazing guitar player that we ever played with pre-Guthrie, and one of the most amazing guys on the planet. And we've done more grassroots, nobody gives a shit. We are out there trying to blaze a trail together than probably anybody else. And
very kind. Thank you very much. And what an honor to be involved with that comment. So thank you so much. You know, everybody, all of your listeners and all of your viewers know what a wonderful family you guys are. You're a family, you know, totally. So when I was involved and Travis invited me as part of the family for a little while, it was like you just fit, you know, it's like you just fit as part of the family. And as long as you lift shit, carry shit, set shit up, and drink shit, and work out shit, and then eat donut shit, you are in.
So let me
play some shit. You got to be able to play some shit too.
Oh yeah, that's part of it.
I know. Well, you know, it's worth
Let me tell you why I loved Dave immediately, because I didn't. So a little backstory. TLB was the house band on a thing owned by Harman Music Group, which is JBL, Digitech, DOD. We were the house band on this mobile stage, which is part of a 53-foot tractor trailer truck that went out for years. And we played all over North America in parking lots of Guitar Centers and Sam Ashes and all this stuff. So Dave got invited out to one of those by the manager of the truck, Paul Moniz, who's a dear friend of ours to this day. And probably, if he's not watching, he'll watch the rerun of this. But we are out there being TLB with this truck, and it was a way for us to finance getting in front of more people and getting around the country and make some dough when nobody gave a crap who we were and nobody was listening, you know. One of our hardcore fans that's watching right now, Glenn Hensman, found out about us on that truck. He drove like 5 hours or something to see us on that truck, and he was the only guy there that day. That's why we remember him to this day. But Dave came out and he did a run with us that started in Las Vegas, and he didn't exactly know what he was getting into. You know, it was like, it's going to be a big stage. Who knows how many people are going to show up to these things. He comes in, he's got a nice white dress shirt on. He's wearing a leather jacket. He's ready. He's looking like, you know, ready for business and ready to look like a guy that should be on stage. Shows up to this parking lot, and we're pulling out like a 4-sub JBL PA system of this truck, and we're wiring crap all day long to put on this show at like 6 o'clock in this parking lot. And Dave immediately sees what's going on, and he asks me for a pair of gloves and what he can do to get started to help. Like, he goes, "Can I wire? What can I do? Do you have a pair of gloves?" And he was dressed nice, and he didn't have to do that. He could have just gone and sat in a lounge somewhere and waited.
Cold, by the way, too. That would have been reasonable to do.
And he immediately got on board and just went to work. And so from that point on, I was like, okay, this dude is one of us, and he's been a brother ever since. And then after that, you know, we've taken him out on our own tours when we were just playing, you know, small places, and, you know, some places were good, some places were horrible. You know, we played down the West Coast, and the Bay Area was always fantastic. We played some great gigs in LA and San Diego. We played in Fresno, California.
Fresno, I still remember. I'll interject for 1 second.
Yeah,
this is one thing I remember about Fresno. I don't know why I remember this, but I remember this about that gig. For some reason, we were setting up, and then we did the gig, and we loaded out. And I remember only this from that gig: someone had jammed a beer bottle underneath your truck tire.
That's right.
And I remember that. I'm like, dude, don't roll. There's glass there.
Right.
And we got it out, and we got to the next gig. That's what I remember about that gig. I don't know.
Now, here's the other thing about that venue, which I don't even know if it exists anymore. I don't mind. I'm not going to mention the name of it, but even if they know, I don't really care if what we say about it. there was a bad vibe there, and it was in a really, really horrific area. And then you go up the street to the Denny's, and there's an armed guard in the Denny's, like a cop with a gun on his hip, about a private cop for the Denny's. Like that's how bad it was. Now, I know there's good people in Fresno. We know some of them. A lot of them drove to Morro Bay last time we played at the Siren, which is the gig that we do here in Morro Bay. But this particular place was just not the place to be. And this was before anybody really cared. There was like, half a dozen people there that, God bless them, showed up and were excited, but woof.
Now, wasn't there a roller derby rink next door? Do I have the right place in my mind?
I heard about it. I never went and saw it, but yes, you're correct.
But you would see women walk by with knee pads and short shorts and then like shoulder pads and stuff. And you go, what's going on?
How would I miss that? I would be pretty much on my radar with that, but I don't know, Dale. I don't know. I there's no way I would have missed that, man.
I don't know. I cannot.
Come on.
So hey, Dave, please tell us what you are up to during these times, musically and otherwise, and let's hear you speak.
Sure, Jen, no problem. Someone asked me this question today, and I'm like, it's really the best of a time and the worst of the time for me, all smashed together. And I'll explain a little bit. So up here in Vancouver, I've been gigging crazy amounts of gigs. I don't know how I've been doing it, but my most amount of gigs per month was 48 in a month, and averaging, I would say, 30 to 35 gigs a month. And from doing that for years and years and years, and all of a sudden, March, it was the 14th, I believe, which was St. Patrick's Day. 14th or 17th was the last one. And then from there, from gigging to all that to just was like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute and going, okay, that's it. Yeah. And I'm like, where is the income happening anymore at this point? As I'm sure you guys understand.
Right.
Recently, I did take in a position at a college here called Douglas College, and
I saw that. Yeah.
They asked me to be a professor of music technology and development because I like computers and compression and DAWs and all this garbage stuff. So, and I like it. So I worked like 18 hours a week teaching other people to engineer albums that sound as great as TLB albums.
Oh, brother. I was going to say, can you come give us a few lessons, maybe?
So that carried me for a little bit over. Now, I'm going to say this. As I mentioned, 2 kids, and I had no idea what my poor wife goes through with these 2 beautiful, monstrous kids that are here. And you'll probably hear them. You hear the earth shaking above my studio right now. That's them running around crazy. I've been taking a lot more daddy duties on dealing with that, and it is catastrophic.
You said duty.
Daddy duty. Daddy doo-doo, and there's a lot of that too. It's catastrophic. So, but on the flip side, I'd never had a chance to really meet my kids because I was never home. Never. Right. So now, they wouldn't, when I came home, it's like, that's whatever, that's dad. My son's like, daddy's always working, daddy's always this, daddy's always that. I'm like, why do you have that toy? Well, because daddy did a gig or whatever, So now they're jumping on me. We're having fun. It's actually awesome. And on top of that, being home has enabled me to actually pick up my electric.
Yes.
Yeah!
Excellent.
What we're talking about.
My electric guitars again. And burn the rust off all of the barnacles built up on my fingers. Not that it wasn't hard to play the nylon, which I've been doing for years, but I wasn't inspired to play the electric. So this in turn gave me time to get the electric going. And I've been in the studio and I've been working new ideas and recording new stuff. And it's been wonderful. So it's, as I said, it's a very interesting time where I'm getting almost back to where I used to play the electric nonstop, stupid amounts per day, not care about how much money I was making, but I still have a family that's depending on me. So it's a really weird situation to be in. It's very hard to explain because before I never had a family. I would just do what I did and made enough to get by. But now, there's life, there's dependence, and there's all kind of things. So nothing is going to last forever. I'm sure in a month or two I'm going to be back, and you guys will be back playing. But it's actually great. So it's been like for me almost a reset button.
Good.
Because
Okay.
doing that amount of gigs does burn you out.
Yeah, sure.
And
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that you were playing nylon string and flamenco stuff, you said that you weren't as passionate about electric, but also that stuff lends it to the gigs and amount of gigs you were able to do in a small amount of mileage, right? Because you're doing
of course,
less eclectic music, for lack of a better description, right?
Yeah, of course.
So is that something that came about based on the need to stay busy as much as it did the passion for doing it, as far as the kind of guitar you were playing?
I think, honestly, Travis, it's an awesome question. It is. And as musicians, we're all passionate. I know all of us, we're so passionate about what we do. But I like expensive fucking things. I don't know what my problem is. I like expensive cars.
You don't like razors?
No. I just like these things. So, and unfortunately, they cost money. So there was a certain point where, of course, the passion is still there, but I started to getting booked a lot of money and a lot more performances playing the nylon. And it was like just a door that went open. It says, here you go. Here's like hundreds of gigs, tons of money, and just do what you do. Or I can continue when I was playing the electric and I was doing tours of Europe and Russia and America and Canada and having an amazing time doing all that. And I just decided to try a different path for a couple of years to see what it led to, honestly, because I did the other path for 25 years. So it's okay to kind of check a different path out, I thought. And as people know, if you know some of my music, there's always a nylon string guitar in there usually.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Big Church or Code Red or whatever. There's always a damn nylon string because I can't put it down. I can't. It's part of it. So it wasn't like I strayed that far, but the avenue opened up to, okay, here's money, here's things, and I was able to buy things because of that. Right. So, but when you pick up the electric and you have the amp and then you have the distortion, you have the gain. And here's a quick little thing. I did a gig, on electric a little while ago, and they wanted to do it like a double thing. So half electric, half acoustic kind of. So I brought my acoustic rig, which was my acoustic guitar, a little preamp, and then in. And then I brought my electric. You know what our electric rigs are like, don't we? And you.
I know what yours is like.
Well, yours too, Travis, and like all of us.
Remember the shipping on yours. We could talk about that later.
There's more than one or two cables, right?
Yeah.
There's more than one plug. So in the sound check, I said, let's just start with acoustic. Okay. Plugged it in, 30 seconds. Here's the sound, monitors up. Yeah, good. Okay, done. Great. And then the electric sound check, over a freaking hour. This ground loop, this problem, this lift, these problems, there's noise, there's all this bullshit. This is out of phase, all this garbage. And I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating. I hated it.
Right, but that's a guy that hasn't done it in a while. You get all those problems worked out as you do it every night, right?
You could be, but I've been doing it for years and years and years. So I'm like, fuck this thing, I just want to play. It was so easy to do the other, and I'm like, that's why. But when I got the electric dialed, and it was happening, and the crunch was happening, and the speakers were crunching, and everything was like, oh yeah, okay, there it is, and that's the reason for like your beautiful tech. Please remind me his name there.
Either
Gino or Debbie.
Gino.
Okay.
Gino. Yeah. You know, when you have such a wonderful, talented individual as Gino helping
Oh, come on, don't stroke him too much.
Yeah, come on, please don't. It causes so many problems. You have no idea.
But my point is, when you've got someone to do that stuff, you can start to just hopefully, here's your guitar, sir. Here's your pick, miss, or whatever. And
Wait, we talked about the pick thing already. Not gonna happen. Sorry.
But that's
wait, you weren't here for that.
I missed that, but yeah. So there's the best answer I can give you about kind of what's been going on and happening right now during all this stuff.
So are you actually writing for a new record, and is that something that will be released sooner, later? What's the deal there?
Well, I did this little test on social media over this extravaganza of time we're in. And I was playing the electric, and I was sitting there, and I was just running my digits, Travis, over some old things that I had done from before. And I figured, just throw the phone up and record a bit, and that's it. And so I threw it up on social media, and I said something like, okay, here's this from this album, and if anybody's looking forward to hearing maybe other parts that I've recorded in the past, let me know. And wow, what a beautiful experience it was to have all these people.
I saw so much of that. I've been watching your shake the rust off.
Like the rust, stuff, blow the rust off, Martone. That's right.
Yeah.
So, and it was a good thing because it forced me to play kind of electric, and it forced me to relearn all these stupid things I wrote back then. All these parts are like, why do you have to do a stretch like this, and why do you have to do all this stuff and chords, like, you know? So, and my plan was to make that. Are we there?
Yeah, we're still here. I'm working on something.
I see what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I got it. And my plan was to just basically get back in shape this way to be able to start to create new things. So, yes, that's been working. Yes, I have 6 songs finished.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Yes, there is lots more on the cooker at this point. It's interesting because, as you know, our music, all inclusive of all of us, has changed in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I think the newer tradition is you must play an 8 or a 10 string guitar, Travis.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not me.
and if you're not, maybe we are the old school.
Right.
Yeah.
Example.
Right.
Jennifer with only 4 strings. If only she could do something with those strings. You know,
it's an interesting thing because Dale, as a drummer, I don't even know how I would equate that parallel to mention if it was on drums. I wouldn't know how to.
4 kick drums.
It's a backwards thing for drummers. We listen. People my age started listening to this kind of music with big drum sets, and now every time you show up, there's a John Bonham setup, and it's like you're trying to figure out how to function on that. Like everything has gone small again. So that's, but anyway, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, you know, and I've dabbled in it, and it's funny because a lot of the songs I had written, I would always down tune to B or C sharp in the past and do that on a regular guitar. But I haven't been able to embrace that at this point because, you know, one of my good friends, and you're probably sure you know him, is Tosin as well too. It's wonderful guitar, wonderful music, but I just haven't been able to cross that bridge at the moment. Hold on, who's here? Wait a second. Oh, hold on. Hey.
We can meet a little Martone.
Yeah, come here for a second. Come here. Come here. He's in shorts.
Oh.
Wow.
This is Manlio.
This is Manlio Martone.
Hey, Manlio.
Wow.
Last time I saw you was that you in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was asking were you asking when you can go and show them how you work out with the weights or when you play video games? So unfortunately, Manlio had a little fall off on a bike, and that's why he's all bunched up here.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
That's
I'll be up in a little bit, buddy. Okay.
But when you gonna show me?
Half an hour.
No, almost at Google for help.
Okay. Google says, that's when he goes, Google's your friend. Okay, I'll talk to Google. I'll set this. And I'm like, what? Can you imagine that when we were that age? You're going to talk to who? What?
Melting.
That's amazing. That's something we thought we'd never see at one time in history,
Right.
Yeah. But so, yeah, my point was, I don't know if I'm going to be worried about the music being contemporary enough. But then again, I don't think we write music, or I have written music, or you have written music to think it was contemporary enough or not. No. You just write for what you feel. And, I love watching one of my earlier heroes, Yngwie Malmsteen, and, he's not changed shit. He's not buying an 8-string guitar and going all crazy on it. He's doing what he does, and that's what it is. You're not seeing Rush when they were going. Alex Life is not buying an 8-string guitar. They are who they are. That's what they do. But then I think the newer generation is like, okay, well, we're going to expand on this. And I embrace it. I think it's awesome because I'm glad that there's people still pushing farther to kind of get more out of it. And that's how we evolve, so.
But leave that to the youngsters, maybe?
I don't know, because I don't know. I just, when you listen to music, when it makes your skin bubble, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need that. That's the thing that goes, wow, that just.
I'm not sure bubble is the right word, but you mean like bump, like goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Bubble would be kind of a bad thing, maybe.
Well, it's like the Goody Squeegee song. I think this is all Canadian stuff. Squeegee in America is something you clean a window with, but you're talking about a hair rubber band that you mute your guitar with.
A scrunchie.
Okay, so maybe you get goose bubbles and we get goosebumps.
In Canada, they get goose bubbles, eh?
Exactly.
Hey, Mark Storm just chimed in, and first of all, he said, hello, Manlio.
Ah, that was nice.
Mark Storm, for those watching that don't know, is the person that we have toured with many, many times with, he was our Electro Voice connection. So when we would do like a sponsored tour with Electro Voice and do a bunch of clinics, and that involved the tour we were talking about earlier, which was 18 shows. Many were clubs, and then some of them were clinics with Mark Storm. One of those shows was in San Francisco Guitar Center, and things got completely crazy. And in honor of Mark Storm, I'm going to show this little clip here real quick. Plus, it'd just be a fun chance to try this technology out. Okay. And I won't let it go, but I'm going to
freeze.
I'm going to give people just a taste of what this was. So picture we're rocking through.
Hey, Goober.
It's
sorry, I wanted to say hi to Goober.
Hi, Goober.
Hey, Goob.
Hey, Goob, whoever you are.
Goober you at the in Hayward, California, with us, I'm sure, when we played there.
The person of note in the Bay Area.
Yes.
But so let me bring this up really quick. I'm going to show it on YouTube, and it doesn't matter if we can hear it well or not.
Before you play it, let me say this. If I think it's what you're going to play.
Yeah.
Guitar players, we're idiots. We are absolute idiots. And I think, I agree, Jen, we're idiots. But we like to have fun, but unfortunately, especially when you get into these wank fests, and on the poor rhythm section, sitting there playing E for 90 minutes and the drums holding the groove, while us just go out there and we do this stuff.
It's a shit show.
It is. And at this exact show, we've been doing it for a while, and then Travis saw an opportunity to make this even more of a craziness, and I believe that's what you're going to play. I think.
Yeah. So let's see if this works.
Looking right now, trying to figure it out. Which? Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that looks all right.
Yeah, this is a bad idea.
This is a bad idea. Look at Travis. He's on the non-step side.
That was a way higher ladder than it looked like in the shot. I remember being a little bit sketched out by this.
I think it was like a
He's busting out that minor pentatonic cap lick. I love that one. Okay, there's my bullshit lick that looks impressive but sounds like nothing.
I actually get hyped here, and I remember not looking at you guys because it made me upset.
There's my bullshit lick.
That's a good one. Look at that one. I like that one.
You guys should have gone higher, though.
Yeah, we should have been
on the ladder. I mean,
I agree.
You should have been sharing that top set. That would have been impressive. And then a nosedive into the crowd. I mean, not nosedive.
So there's that.
Well, I think
that's you and me on a ladder in San Francisco Guitar Center, brought to you by Mark Storm and Electro Voice.
Yeah.
And it never sounded better through all the EV products, and we could not accomplish that without our EV RE system, our RE2 systems, to be able to walk up the ladder. And notice there was no interference on the aluminum ladder as we were playing.
Kip Stork is here, and he says, "Yikes."
Yep.
Why is Martone's vocal all echoey and delayed right now?
It's okay on my end.
Oh,
yeah, mine is exactly to me too.
It's probably just because I came in and out. It'll start to process, and it'll be fine in a second.
I want to mention too, back in those days, I used to do tour diaries, and the Dave Martone ones are some of my most favorite and hilarious. And if you get a chance, maybe we'll post the link later. Just that whole tour with Stormer and you guys, just hilarity. I laugh out loud watching those all the time. So
if I want to,
Martone was always funny.
I want to interject. I just have to say something because, there's peaks and valleys in a man's, physical fitness. So on this tour, I happened to be on a higher portion of physical fitness, and Dale was my escape to be able to start to work out. So he was a great partner because we would be up in the morning. We would be going crazy in the gym. We'd be doing ab ripper X. We'd be running. We'd be pumping weights. But then...
That's right. You had a P90X version that we would be in the gym with. That's right.
But then in the evening, Jen would be my nemesis because she would be the person, after we finished loading all the shit, she said, "Hey, under the back seat, the bottom of the van, just reach in there. There's a bottle of booze. Just grab that and go nuts, whatever you want." And I remember, so I had good Dale in the morning and really fun Jen in the night. And then Travis was the medium balance through the whole thing. It was awesome. Yeah. It was great. It was really
the medium balance. I'm like,
I don't even know. Pusher.
Yeah, the donut pusher.
Yeah.
Wait.
I'm looking through some of that footage right now, and if you go to our YouTube page, I'll post a link right now to at least one of these, and the rest of them are close to it in the same playlist. But I'll throw one up in the feed just for the fun of it because it's easy to find, and I'm getting better at the technology.
It seems like you are.
Okay. It seems like it's time for a Who's the Man while Trav's screwing around there.
So I got to explain this to Dave first.
Okay.
We do a thing on here called Who's the Man, which is basically like an example would be Keith or Mick, that kind of thing. Who's the man, Sammy or Dave, that kind of stuff. Okay?
Criteria.
So you premise. What's that, Dale?
What
I said
Dale?
The criteria is just whatever you decide it is. Like, you can make up your own reason for why he's the man over the other guy.
Okay, so like an example, Van Halen, Sammy or Dave, who's the man? Something like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Jen, what's this week's Who's the Man?
No, wait. Well, speaking about for you, who's the man? Sammy or Dave?
Yeah.
For me, Dave.
There you go.
I don't know what it is. Nothing up with Sammy. There was something more primal and unproduced and raw with Dave. It was not so polished and pretty. It was just nasty with these dudes in a room, and they had mics up, they pushed record, and the damn band played. And there was something about that gives me bubbles on my skin.
Goose bubble.
This is the second time Larry Dickey has stuck this out here, so I'm going to stick it into the conversation. Simon Phillips or Dave Weckl?
Dale?
That's a really tough one for me, but Simon Phillips goes more along the path that I've chosen, where you take all this modern jazz technique and apply it to stuff that rocks, and I think it's more relevant to what I do. So I would say Simon Phillips, but I dug into Dave Weckl so hard early in my practicing life that he might be a bigger influence, even though I don't feel like I play with like him. I'm going to say Simon Phillips. That's a good one.
Yeah, there you go.
Jen? Yeah.
Yep.
So we had one last week that I think we missed. If I forgot, then shoot me. But who's the man, Chris Squire or John Entwistle?
Wow.
I'll say Entwistle.
Going for the same reason Dave likes David Lee Roth, I will say Entwistle.
I prefer it. I mean, I would say Entwistle also, although the tone is a little bit what's in question for me. Like, I dig Chris's tone a lot.
Got it.
So.
Yeah.
Dave.
You have an opinion, Dave?
Oh, I will choose pass on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
They're both dead. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah,
we'll allow that since you're a guest.
Here's a question for Dave.
Okay, Travis.
Is it true that Dave did a song for Jason Becker benefit? And if so, how did Dave get involved with Jason in the first place? I will say that we met Jason Becker through Dave. And so that's how we met Jason. How did you meet Jason, Dave?
It's so funny that you bring this up, because yesterday I received an email from someone in regards to this exact thing. It's kind of weird how this shit happens. So, good question, Travis. He does a quick little research. He's got a couple points, and he's like, yeah, I got this shit going on. It's great. So, I've just got so much energy. I want to go bench press somebody.
I have enjoyed you.
The whole idea is that this feels like being in the van with us, and it totally does.
Oh, I have this surge of energy right now.
You'd be bench pressing Dale as soon as we got to the hotel.
Yeah.
Speaking of being in the van together, I have to go use the bathroom, so I'm going to stop my camera. This is the first time I've done this. First time
I'll just pull you out.
Cool.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay. I will answer your question, Travis.
Yes.
In the least amount of time I can to waste with it. So back maybe 10, 15 years ago, there were things that people would do, people being record companies for these guitar people like yourself and myself, which would put out these compilation albums. And they would like to have all the top guns of the time tributing whatever. So somehow it was through the label I was on called Lion Music, in which put out a couple of my albums. And they asked if I would want to be involved in this tribute for Jason, and all the proceeds went to help his family and him. And I'm like, damn right I will. Honestly, I was never, I didn't know a lot of his music, basically none. Right. I didn't follow any of the music.
I just knew the name, right?
Yeah, I was ignorant.
Yeah.
Ignorant to the fact. It's not because I didn't like it. It's because I just wasn't privy. I didn't follow it. So I said I accepted before I actually listened to any of the music. And when I listened to it, I'm like, mother, this guy can rip. This is insane. How am I going to cover any of this incredible music? So that led me to my choice of the track, Dale, which I picked a track which actually had no guitar on it. Zero guitar. And the reason I picked that is I could not do any embarrassment to his playing because there was no guitar on the track.
Right.
It was just I'm singing. That's it.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I picked this track. And the song was called Higher. And so I picked it, and I spent a month on this track. A month. To enlighten the listeners, the beginning starts with kind of a choir singing these parts in like fifths and fourth harmonies before the main part kicks in. And I actually didn't have an EBow, this thing you put on the guitar and it carries, it carries the notes. So I rented that, and I spent a month transcribing, figuring the whole shit out. I changed time signatures. I really, really worked on it. Finished it, and at that point, then I sent it to the record company, and they go, okay, we told the record company, sent it to Jason. They said, okay, here's this guy. He did the cover of your track. And they said, well, Jason said, I need to hear it because this is actually my favorite song I've ever written in my entire life.
Wow.
He said, I will not put this out, whoever this is, if I don't like it at all, because this track is the most important thing I've ever done. And I'm like, and then they sent me that information back. I'm like,
you're like, great.
What's my luck? I spent a month of my life to do this thing, and I got this email. So after, I guess he listened to it with his family, and then he sent the record company a message, which they then sent to me, which said basically this from Jason. He goes, I've never, ever heard this song interpreted like that in my head in 1,000 years. He says, I've never experienced what it was to feel it the way you did it. I'm actually blown away with the way that you had put this all together. And I look so forward to having this song on my tribute. Oh. And that was look it, I got bubbles on my skin. So I'm sweating thinking about it. Look,
Yeah. Dave, do you know how to get that song? Is it just a download available on iTunes and stuff like that?
I actually never checked, Travis. I have no idea. It's called Higher. It was off of a Lion Music release, I want to say in 2000. Can you believe that? 20 years ago, I think.
Wow. I imagine if it's available, all the benefits would go to Jason. So
yeah, and
would hope.
Just it was a mixture for me. I love a Fender Strat position 4, mildly distorted, very mild with a bit of delay and reverb. I love that, but I also love the full-on crazy sound. So that song had put them both together for me. So that was really a neat experiment for both. So great question, Travis. Beautiful question.
Well, that was Tom. Thank you, Tom. What's that?
Who the man for Dave would be?
Yep.
Boyd says Paco de Lucia or Al Di Meola.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
I would say instantly Paco de Lucia, just because this gentleman can do so. Not to cut anything from Al. Al plays wonderful fingerstyle, but Paco has he has sangria flowing through his veins. You know, this guy is the real deal. What he can do it's like a guy with one pick going, okay, up, down, up, down, up, down. But like say Jen, like, you know, you can have 4 fingers to doing all things, where this guy was just doing 1.
Right. Yeah. And
the musicality and the definitely Paco de Lucia. And I remember, I actually won't say that. It's a negative comment for something. So Paco de Lucia.
We have a question that we were asked definitely at least once or twice in the last couple of weeks, but I'll ask Dave. This is from Sam, and it says, what was it that made you decide being a musician was the road for you? A certain musician, moment, event, etc. And the quick answer that I had the other day was basically, you know, we all say we don't have a choice. And I keep using this example of Billy Joel doing a Q&A at a college on Long Island, where a guy stood up and asked him how would he know he should be an artist, and Billy Joel said, if you're asking me, you already know the answer, you know. Because but did you have a moment, Dave, at some point in your life or career, or I guess not career, but in your life, where you decided this is something I'm going to keep doing? And
you know, honest Travis, no. It was the way it was.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. It's just the way it was, because for some reason, I don't know why, but my family forced it on me at very young, and that was it. There was no other There's nothing else, which is interesting because now that I have kids, I'm like, I just need some time to just digest even what's going on. So I don't know how my parents put the amount of energy into me to force me to do that amount of work to get better. So there was never a point like, this is what I'm going to do. Although I do remember when I was 17 or 18, as I said, us idiot guitar players think, oh, I want to be the fastest in the world and I want to do all this stuff. Like, we think these stupid thoughts. And I remember that, okay, by 21, I'm going to have this. And then 21 happened and like, nope, didn't happen. Like, oh, by 25, I'm going to do this. And then 25, nope, didn't happen. Okay, by 30, I'm going to have this. And then, nope, didn't happen. So for me, it was, and for all of us, it was just a love.
Right.
And it wasn't like I wanted to make money. The money wasn't important at all. That's became more important later in life. But
yeah, the music is more of a hindrance, if anything. Right?
It's interesting. How do you mean?
Well, meaning we have to figure out ways to live while being what we are.
Oh, you mean, but music,
like if I just wanted to go make money and I was emotionally capable of doing that, I know how to do it. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I can survive it. And Dale's an example of that. Dale went to college for years and years and years, became an engineer, worked at a nuclear power plant for a little while, decided he could not survive that way.
Yeah, then I started living in warehouses and
yeah.
Well, I guess the point of it all is being happy with what you do.
Right.
So are you happy with what you do? There's so many people that can make money, but they want to just die because they hate their job. So, and people that are, when you love your job, it's not a job, of course. And then you're just, if you happen to make money, great. If you don't, great. But usually you will, because if you love it, it's full of non-ego and not pretentious, and it's real. And I like real. And you can feel real. You can feel fake, and people can feel fake. So, and when you admit real, it's gonna happen. So, it's so funny you mentioned Billy Joel about that story, because I was playing maybe 3 years ago. I was doing a Monday night hotel gig somewhere in Vancouver. It's just
I was so excited about this, by the way.
Crappy little gig. And I come in and I start to play, and the manager comes and he goes, hey, come here. He says, see the guy at the end of the bar? That is soon.
That is Banlio.
That's so great. He's like, I gotta go pee. So I'm sitting there, and then the manager goes, hey, you know what's at the end of the bar? I'm like, nope. He goes, that's Billy Joel. I'm like, and there was this really small little gentleman, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's great. So I started to play, and I actually got a little bit nervous.
Right?
Dale, I got nervous. I was like,
the dude is the real deal. No matter
nervous, even though he was.
What anybody says, that dude is the real deal.
He wasn't even looking at me. He wasn't even looking. And so I tried to play, and I made some mistakes. I'm talking to myself in my head, like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? What is wrong with you? This is just play your damn guitar. You played the song 6,000 times. What's your problem? And so I finally settled myself down. It's weird, isn't it? We've all had experiences like that. We could each tell a story of how that happened. I know we all can.
Yeah.
So, and then I played some stuff, and I took a break, and then he got up and he was leaving, and I went up to him as he was leaving. I just wanted to say hello. My name is Dave, and I just wanted to say a quick hello and congratulations on all your career. And he goes to me, what the hell are you doing here, man? You got to get out more. Like, this is nuts. Like, you're insane. What are you doing playing in a place like this?
Right.
Let me play in your band, man.
Right.
Stephanie says it's Billy Joel's birthday today.
Are you serious?
See?
Wow. See, it's all part of synergy.
And I had on my list of who's the man, oddly, and maybe this is a bad time, but Billy Joel versus Elton John.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to say Billy Joel because I never met Elton John, and I enjoyed that story, so I'm going to pick Billy Joel just because of that. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, as much as I actually was way more familiar with Elton John earlier on, because that was one of the records my brother would play through the wall that turned me on to music. I got to say Billy Joel in the sense of being just a badass, like a badass, and people that don't know, but I mean that dude is the real deal, man. He's hardcore, and if you look into his career a little bit and you pay attention, Russia, yeah, like playing Russia when nobody had played Russia to crowds that didn't know necessarily what they were in for at that point in his career, and you can see the fear in him a little bit here and there. Like it's sketchy. It's like the kind of places that we go sometimes where you don't belong there. You know, it's like, but in this case, it was people that had never even been to a rock show. But like we've all gone into those places. You know, you go into a drunken club that's normally like AC/DC all night long, and we're going to play this fusion music for 3 hours. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just looking around going, what's going to happen? You know?
I just confirmed that. Yeah. His birthday. Thank you, Stephanie.
Wow.
I think that this might be a good time to bring up, the passing of Little Richard today.
Yes.
Yeah.
About, very, influential people like Billy Joel, Elton John, and Little Richard. So I just want to pay respects.
Thank you.
One of the most, so has anybody here besides me seen Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll with Chuck Berry?
I have not, sorry.
I did
need to dig into that. It's mandatory, like much like Spinal Tap in the joking end of music is mandatory. Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll in the history of music is mandatory. And it's Keith Richards putting together a real band, because if anyone knows anything about Chuck, they know he always had like just pickup musicians from town to town. But the reason I say that is because Little Richard is all over that movie, and he's sitting there with Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry talking about the day and talking about who they were at the time. And those three guys, they're all of the man, right? And so they're sitting in a room together looking at each other, supposed to talk about who's the man, kind of. And Little Richard in that room, there's no way you're going to rise above that guy in a conversation like this. He's just like, I am the architect, I am the instigator, I'm the perpetrator. He's just on and on and on and on. And those guys are just like, okay, like they can't get a word in edgewise. And they're kind of like that too in their own way, but not like Little Richard was.
I was always impressed with how that gentleman looked so young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
He always looks so young.
Such nice skin.
Like always.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful, lucky gentleman. And so he brought
I can't say what I want to say without Larry here because I'll get in trouble, but you know what I'm going to say.
So I'll save you from that. There's a great, the Zeppelin rock and roll. I believe that was borrowed from that drum intro was borrowed from a Little Richard song. I want to say Keep on Knocking, but I could be wrong. But yeah, interesting. Random.
Dale, it's just a quick question. This is so off topic. I'm sorry, but Hot for Teacher.
Yeah.
The drum intro. It sounds amazing.
Uh-huh.
I keep reading he's using like electronic drums because it sounds like it's 4 kick drums happening at the same time. And I've heard people try and play it, and it sounds like shit. They're not doing the thing. So tell me what it is.
I wish that you had asked me this 18 months ago, because I was gonna, as a disruptive thing in a cover band I was playing. There was the guitar player in this band that I would fill in with sometimes. Love Van Halen, and we were gonna hijack this song and do the intro to Hot for Teacher before.
Yeah.
Anyway, I started researching what you're talking about, and now I can't do it off the top of my head. But yeah, I've looked into it, and I've seen people playing it, and it's once you can like look around, going, maybe somebody else has figured this out, and you're like, no, and then you see somebody do it, and you're like,
because they're always using something, and it doesn't sound.
Yeah, I think the shuffle keeps going. Like the whole keeps going, and then they kind of. But I want to commit to it.
There's no overdubs though, right? I mean, do we know this?
I believe so. I've given this myself that you can do it, and I've seen people do it well, and I was going to learn it, and now it's gone from my head.
I'm sorry to interject with that thing. I don't know what it was. I don't know what took my mind there. I have no idea. We
were talking about practicing earlier. If I had maintained this, I would have been able to.
You know,
Little Richard the Hot for Teacher makes a modicum of sense. It's okay.
Yes.
I've learned one thing in my life. If you feel it, say it. For me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really gotten me in a lot of problems, like a lot. And people go to me, they go, you know what, he has no filter, none at all. So I'm sorry, but this is how it is. So,
but as the guy who filters himself too much, I will say, wouldn't you take the times that got you in trouble over the times you wish you would have said something?
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because sometimes you say like it just works out. Like, holy shit, it worked out great.
I'm the guy who wishes he would have said something sometimes. So I can respect the unfiltered part.
Gary Johnson says Hot for Teacher is all about the bass. Do we agree?
Bass guitar?
I assume. Or is it all about the bass drum?
If it is, then I've overlooked it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just listened to Sammy and Mike last night on a podcast with Eddie Trunk, and they were in lockdown, and they've been doing videos and stuff. But it's pretty interesting to see two of the guys from that band out there continually just getting it done. And I wish the other two guys would do the same, if possible, Just my take as a Van Halen fan, since we're on the Van Halen subject.
Yeah.
I love watching all that stuff. It's, for me, I would say one of the reasons I play electric guitar is because of Eddie Van Halen, for me. And you can probably say that for so many guitar players, and sorry to hog the space, Dale and Jen, but it's just one of those things. He had the baddest ass groove. He wrote killer riffs. Right. I'm not talking about improvising or soloing, like Mean Street, the riff.
He looked cool as hell.
I would be gay. He looked so good. He looked so cool. His hair was perfect, and his smile was perfect, and he had ripped abs, and his arms were ripped. His guitar was cool, and it was just like, who is this god?
I'm sure I'm not alone, but as a non-guitar player, the first time I played something over and over because of the guitar tone was Mean Streets, that weird intro. Am I thinking of the right thing? Right. Yeah. I just couldn't get enough of that. It was just so nasty.
Yeah. And you listen to it, and it's one guy, one guitar. There's no overdubs. He's doing his shit in the first couple albums, and he's playing it like a man.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy that's a man. You know, that's a freaking man that just steps up, plugs in a cable, puts a phaser in the way, hits a couple flangers, and just rips the shit out. His guitar stays in tune, and he writes all this shit, and it's just like, God damn, now we're triple tracking, overdubbing, harmonizing, pitch tuning, all this stuff, and it still sounds like crap in compared to what.
And underrated for his rhythm guitar phrasing, and I know he does get credit for his rhythm guitar playing, but
come here. I'm on TV. Come here.
I'm on TV.
Actually, we're about ready to wrap this up, you guys.
We're getting close, so we can sign off and let you get back to Manlio here in a moment.
I did want to shout out Happy Mother's Day!
Hi, guys!
Wow. Can we just say that Dave Martone married like the most beautiful woman in North America? We all know it.
We can't say
that. Aw, thanks, guys. So nice to see your beautiful faces, every one of you.
My goodness.
You know what? I have to say something. My son has been so patient because he's wanting to show my brother-in-law's here. In my car, we can play video games in my car on the screen, and he wants to show Uncle how he can play all these video cards on there. Is that right?
Okay.
Can I show him? Okay, we'll be right up.
Yeah, we're gonna let you go do that.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, dude. So
thank you, Dave, for your time. Thank you.
To say, we miss you is an understatement, and we're kind of only having special people on this feed with us that are really, really. They have to have done some serious time with TLB, And
I appreciate the honor. I'm very honored to be here, and I love all of you separately and individually. I really do. You know that.
Yes.
You know that. You know my heart's with you all the time, and Mark, and thank you, and Travis. I have to say, you and your team is amazing. For all the people out there, Travis is such a stand-up person. He has helped me create and contact so many wonderful companies through your behalf, and he stepped to the plate and goes, here's this guy, check him out, here's this guy, check him out. So I want to say thank you always for that, because it takes a lot to be able to introduce me to such a wonderful company like, say, Electro Voice or something like that's a big company,
Well, and I've said this before about everybody that we're really willing to get in the van with. It all starts with communication and a relationship, which starts with the music, to me, because people's music, like you said, it's their personality. It's if they're honest and they're putting their soul out there, it's who they are. And so when somebody's music touches me, I've yet to meet somebody whose music really touched me that they didn't touch me. and so.
No, just kidding. Sorry.
I understand.
I'm pretty sure you've all touched me many times. So
yeah, sure.
What happens on the road stays on the road.
No, you know what I mean.
I understand, Travis, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you've written a couple beautiful songs, which you mentioned that you were inspired from some of the ideas that I presented. And I love all your music, and I love these ideas.
One of my most popular songs is, so I'll say this real quick, just because if people don't know Dave's music, they should go look you up on the internet and find your music. But yes. Dave, so if you listen to The Watchman, which is a really popular Travis Larson Band song, the juxtaposition of shredding my ass off and just Dale pounding as hard as he can on the drums and Jen just ripping it up on the bass and then dropping in a beat down to nothing but acoustic guitar. Yeah. That dynamic is completely stolen from Dave Martone's influence of he creates these crazy dynamic drop-offs where he'll be just shredding your face off and then all of a sudden playing the most beautiful flamenco in the same song. And so I was like, I want to create a dynamic like that in a song, and that's where that came from. So,
and that is a beautiful song you guys have written. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hey, Dave, before we sign off, what are your details? Your website, where can people find your music, all that good stuff?
You could find me on Instagram at Mr. Dave Martone. I didn't pick Mr. because Dave Martone was gone. I don't consider myself a Mr. at all.
Mr. is your dad, right? That's why I always think of it.
I'm not a Mr. And people say, sir, Mr. I'm like, that's not me. So, and then Facebook, Dave Martone, and then webpage, if you get to that point, is just davemartone.com. Okay. And you can follow me. You can get all my stuff on iTunes or Apple Music or Spotify. There's all that is up there. So what a great way to spend a Saturday night.
And thank you, Father, for giving you to us for an hour to hang out.
Play with the video games in the car. My God.
Oh my God!
And let me say too, all the links for our Travis Larson Band support stuff are in this stream, in the listing for this live stream right now, and you can find them everywhere else. And there's a tip jar if anyone wants to throw a few bucks in. And I don't know when I'm going to do my next live show, but it will be sometime soon. And we did have a person ask, is there a chance, Dave, that we would do a West Coast tour again in the future and maybe stop in Portland? And I say, if we do a West Coast tour, we'll stop everywhere. But is there a chance that could happen?
Absolutely, yes.
As soon as we're allowed out of our homes.
Yeah. And so Dale's got to have some walkout music from Dale there. I like it. Yeah.
All right, Dave, we're going to let you go.
Dave.
Love you, buddy.
Love you all.
Thank you so much. And we'll see everybody again next Saturday at 7:00 with who knows who. I don't know. It'll probably just be us next week. I don't know. Bye, everybody.